The word transformation has meant many different things to me over my lifetime. When I was younger, I hoped and dreamed that my parents would be able to transform their marriage into a loving relationship, which would transform the way they would lose their tempers with us. In the third grade, I developed a severe stuttering problem. I would hope and pray that my speaking ability would be transformed. Not being able to introduce myself or say anything under stress without stuttering was a huge disadvantage that led to a lot of additional issues growing up. Being totally uncool in high school led to some severe bullying. I always dreamed of transforming into a cool kid or a tough kid or someone who was really good at sports. As a young married parent, I hoped and prayed that I could transform my inner life and change some of the bad habits that developed from my dysfunctional upbringing. As a parent of an adult child who struggled mightily with mental illness and addiction issues, I hoped and prayed that I could help her transform her life. Early on, I realized that I really couldn't control my daughter, but I did have the ability to control myself. Making transformation real in my own life was the best way to help my daughter transform. Over the last 5 years, I have invested myself in research and study of the principles, practices, and tools that would lead to a transformed inner life. I've also done my best to actually live out the principles and practices on a daily basis. I've learned a lot about transformation over the last 5 years. One of the biggest misconceptions I have discovered is that transforming your inner life will always eventually lead to your external circumstances being transformed. Most stories of transformation you hear go something like this. My external circumstances were really bad. I finally decided to make some changes in my inner life, and here I am, X number of months later, and my external circumstances have radically changed in my favor. I've lost 50 pounds. I won gold in the Olympics. I married the person of my dreams, or went from poverty to riches. Most people believe that transformed external circumstances are the primary evidence of a transformed inner life. Of course, there are a few examples of people who may not have the best external circumstances, but they exhibit a life free of anger, failures, or wants. They get in touch with their inner Buddha and are consistently at peace. My journey with transforming my inner life looks way different. My negative external circumstances haven't changed much at all over the last 5 years. I find myself still falling into some of my old bad habits when I am under stress, and my business is still declining, despite my sincerest efforts. Some of my external circumstances have progressively gotten worse. My attempts to help my daughter get control of her mental illness and addiction issues have completely failed, and I will never see that external circumstance ever change in my lifetime. What could a transformed inner life possibly look like when your external circumstances are getting worse and some will never change? It looks like purpose, meaning, love, hope, joy, and peace, despite your failures and external circumstances. I don't mean that in a glib way. I have found that failure, grief, and suffering are part of the underlying rhythms of transformation.